When I talk about my edges, it's because of this. I put up a video about having your kids move out, and someone commented, you need to hire somebody to clean and organize, or clean and declutter, or whatever. And I said, thank you. But the point is, this is why we can have nice things, because you're not focused on the task at hand. So the whole class is now in trouble. That's why you're not getting an apartment tour, because people feel compelled to say things that have no bearing on what we're talking about. I've said 1,000 times, that is my office. I do content, I get products, but you felt compelled to comment on something that had no bearing on the video at hand. And this, again, is why the whole class is punished. No pizza party. Back to it. What I'm whining about today, entitlement. So sometimes my content tends to go back to children because that's what I know about. So if it's not for you and you don't want to be bothered, I get it. But I just thought this was very interesting because of the different times that my children have grown up, having a 35-year-old and having a 19-year-old and a 28 in between. I've seen some things. So this was on Threads, which is my happy place. I love to go there and be a voyeur. And the young lady, if you can hold down and look, but she's saying that her daughter is ungrateful because she graduated from high school and she bought her a Honda, very nice Honda, would love that Honda, would take that Honda. I drive a 2014 Kia, okay? And ain't nothing wrong with my Kia. I love that Kia, paid for it. That's not the point. So the conversation is back and forth, and the mother is like, you didn't seem like you were happy. Well, and she says she didn't appreciate it. I was expecting a Benz or a Mercedes. You driving a G-Wagon and me driving a basic Honda is weird. The mother basically responds, she'll sell the car, and if she's not happy with it, that she doesn't deserve it, that she's worked her whole life to get a G-Wagon and blah, blah, blah. And that reminded me of a video probably many of us saw, that there was a set of parents that you could look at them and kind of tell they come from humble means. And they took a young lady to the dealership, and they show her this car, and the car is definitely a used vehicle, and she won't get out the car when they drove up. She has her face on and an attitude. She's so nasty. And that was several years ago, and I'm sure many of us saw it. And let me tell you something. My daughter grew up when my super sweet 16 was hot, baby. That's how I was introduced to Tiana Taylor. If you remember, she had the Barbie BMX roller skating party thing. People were having parties where helicopters were dropping them down, and you were having a court give out the invitations to people's homes, and kids were getting Mercedes and all kinds of things. And that was a big deal, because I feel like that was the first time we all got a glimpse into other people's lifestyles, if that makes sense. So I remember growing up where you went to school with Billy and Jill, and you didn't know anything about them, what went on in their house, what their house looked like. You didn't know if they were a hoarder. You didn't know if their parents were hoarders. You didn't know anything. You just knew you went to school with Jill and Bill, and that was how it was. You now, unless they were your friends, obviously, and you went over to their house, but you now have full 24/7 access to other people's lifestyles, good, bad, or excessive. And that's a problem for the young people. Suicide in children is up 700%. I worked in mental health. And it is up because of many reasons in social media, but also we are extremely inundated with overconsumption. Me is me, I'm the problem. But we are inundated with visuals and reminders of what we don't have because we see what someone else has. When millions of years ago, 10, we weren't privy to that. So when, I'll never forget, my Super Sweet 16, we're 20 years actually, because my daughter's going to be 36, so 20 years. So when that show came on and it shined a spotlight on disparities of wealth and expectations and behaviors, and it was very interesting and very telling to me. But when it rolled around for my daughter turning 16, she knew a helicopter was not going to come because she knew who I was, and I was honest with my children. And I think that's some of the things that happens now in society and social media is, I did grow up in a time where you stay out of grown folks' business. You didn't know what was going on in your household. If you came home from school and your stuff was on the lawn because you were evicted, you were just as shocked as everybody else because you didn't know what was going on in the house. And I'm not saying that you're supposed to sit down in line by line, but if we're having lean times or we're having good times or I could potentially get laid off, or I think that these are conversations that can be had with young adults. I'm not saying the 5-year-old who's watching Doc McStuffins or whatever the hell they watch. You're supposed to be like, listen, just want to let you know. Like, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about if you have a 15-year-old that has, puffing out their chest and has expectations and wants certain things and requires certain things. These are conversations that should be had. But when I saw that, I was like, no, we can't do that. But the comments were interesting to me because they varied so far in between. So the comments, like I said, were varied. And one of the comments was, you'll spoil your kids and get mad when they act spoiled. That's a nice ass car. Girl, I got a 2007 Subaru to get me through high school from my parents. That's it. Some people don't even get cars. Wanting a luxury car straight out of high school is never a good idea. Basically, the question that was asked was, is the child ungrateful? Yes, 100% yes. Totally yes, very. But the point is that it goes back to what we've talked about, social media. We are now exposed to so much information that it's just like an overload, to the point that I went to an event and there were so many sample sales stores in the area in Manhattan that I took a look. And one of them had a sale of Brunello Cucinelli that was 75% off. To give you an idea, there was a beautiful sweater that I saw that was originally $9,000, which was on sale for $2,400, okay? My first car was a Corsica, and it cost less than that. The point is that I saw that sweater, I saw some other things. Did I buy? Did I not? We'll never know. I went to said event later, and I'm talking to a lady, and we're talking about things and just in general, and it comes up that I had gone to the sample sale, and there were like 4 in different. One had Gucci and Balenciaga and Givenchy and Ferragamo and all the things, and I said, then I went to one that has Brunello Cucinelli, and she said, that's so interesting, because those other brands, I don't consider them luxury, because everybody has them. But Brunello is, I feel like that's luxury. So now we're at such a different level that you're telling me that Salvatore Ferragamo is not really luxury anymore, that we're to the level of Brunello Cucinelli, which a lot of people don't know, and which is one of those brands that there's no logos on it. Most people don't know. We're so evolved that luxury is such a different thing to us. So Is the child ungrateful? Yes, but there's so much information that we're getting force fed that I grew up and I remember there was a brand called Tough Skins jeans, and they were very tough. And I remember like my mother getting upset, or my grandmother or somebody, and be like, you don't understand. We're supposed to provide you food and shelter and clothes on your back. It doesn't mean Jordache, I'm telling my age, or Sassoon. You can wear Tough Skins, or they would go to Sears and Roebuck and buy you a pair of jeans, or you would get Keds and you would be happy. I'm a lot older, but even my daughter in school, you just went to school and you looked presentable. There were a few things you liked. They loved a little Abercrombie. They loved a little, going into those kind of stores. Hollister, please, Hollister. But to see a child in school with a Miri pair of jeans on, or Balenciaga, or Off-White in school is mind-boggling, but it's very excessive. Also, this is what the music talks about. They joked about, a lot of people were, saying that they can't relate to Drake now because he just talks rich shit. And the young people told me this. I don't know this. People are not relatable anymore because they're in a different tax bracket. And because children are inundated with that, I think that the value of things, or the value of hard work, is kind of lost in it. So if you wake up every day and you live in a beautiful home and you don't really want for anything, and your mom drives a G-Wagon and your dad drives whatever, and it's graduation time, and your friend down the street got a BMW and your other friend got a Charger, and you got all those things, and your parents are more on the practical side because most first-time drivers, God forbid, some have an accident, don't want to spend that kind of money. And you're like, my expectations was that you and I are on the same level. And I know people who have done things for their children because they want to do for their children, and their children are appreciative, and their children know what they've been through to get where they got. But this conversation that this woman had, and was like, is she ungrateful? The attitude of the text that the young lady had gave me, you knew she was ungrateful. Do you understand? There's a difference. There's a difference in a child that you go and they're graduating and they have a full ride scholarship to their dream college, and they've busted their ass, and maybe they had a little part-time job and they didn't even think of a car, and you break them off a G-Wagon, and they are the most grateful. And I've seen those videos too. So let's be clear that they are around. But you knew that child when you bought her that. So again, I love social media. I'm not going to lie. A lot of people, say they don't. I find it entertaining. It's afforded me a second chance career, and I'm grateful of. But it's given me a lot of insight. And I think it's very interesting because, one, it goes back to the first thing I said. People feel very comfortable to say whatever they want to say to you. Two, you are shown things you've never would have ever seen and probably shouldn't have seen. And three, it shows that the materialism and overconsumption is at an all-time high. And it's unfortunate. But that video really struck a nerve with me because I have always worked hard, and my children are grateful, are very grateful for the things that I've done, or the things that I've do for them. And I remember having a conversation with one of my children, and was like, why don't you, you never ask your dad. And the answer was, I'm not going to get it from him. I say all that to say, I just think that the main question, is she ungrateful? Yes. But I also think it, even though social media and all of that has an effect on the children, it has an effect on the adults. And the end of it is that I don't know what can be done about it. I grew up on Housewives of Orange County. I think that's the one of the first ones. And then, of course, Atlanta, all of them. I haven't watched them in a long time now because when Nene was on it, it was when it was like peak. But that was when we started, us, the older people, started getting shown wow, like women are dressed every day and hair did, nails did, everything did, and what kind of car are they driving and what kind of bag are they carrying, and I remember when Nene got her teeth done and her nose done and her thing done, and other ladies on there got work done, and I just watched on Netflix Delhi bling, DELHI bling, like Dubai bling. Then it's like young, rich African, I may be lying. Then there was young, rich Asians. So you are beat in the head with what you don't have. And that's a lot for people to deal with. And I don't know what the alternative is because we can't go back. You can't unring a bell. You can't not see all the things that are out there and available. And even for me, working in social media, I am made privy to brands I never knew existed. And I went to an event the other night and I had on this outfit from a designer and they sent it to me to wear. Stunning. Did not know who they were. Super grateful. You understand what I'm saying? So we're just inundated, and I just don't know what that does for the youth. I think a lot of it is the onus is on us at home to kind of ground them and also to ground ourselves. As I sit here in this Chanel sweater, I had to sweater a long time now, so please, my edges. I mean, I like a thing. Everybody likes a thing. So what do you do? Like, where's the compromise? So anyway, like I said, I get to rambling. And I enjoy it. I appreciate you guys getting on for the ride. But focus on the topic at hand. You see what Sally did in the beginning of this video? You worried about the wrong thing. Now you're going to have to wait. Because I'm not going to show you my whole apartment. You're going to be like, yeah, you should have. Because, please. So anyway, it is the weekend and I was home alone. Nicholas went and had to do a show. Nicholas is quite the musician. Nicholas is on the spectrum. He does not mind me sharing that. And Nicholas has taught himself, I always say every instrument, but he reminds me that there's millions of instruments in the world. So he's like, no, he didn't. So he taught himself guitar, bass, drums, piano, keyboard. I thought a bass and a guitar were the same thing. No, acoustic guitar, not the same thing. So he taught himself all these things. He has a YouTube channel. I'm going to share it. And he is in several bands. The thing that probably was intriguing to a lot of people is that Nicholas is in bands that they go like this. Oh! Yeah. No judgment. He's good at what he does. So he was gone this weekend and I was home alone and I was trying to be in here so quiet, like I was waiting for the cops to come and I was being quiet in here because I don't want anybody to know I was here. And I was like, I don't even want to go out, but I actually have to go to an event tomorrow, so I'm excited. But the point is, we all like the things, we all want the things, but I think we got to just learn to be more grateful and just work on the youth and just work on appreciating what we have. I have been enjoying going to my storage and going through things because I'm finding good things that I have, like this damn sweater. Okay? So, anyway, thank you guys for always supporting, liking, commenting, sharing. Easy. And turn on notifications so you can be notified when I'm on here talking shit. Anyway, thanks, guys.